So for step 6, attaching the motor, well, you can see that we need to put the motor plate in. One interesting thing is they're showing you greasing it up with that molybdenum grease first before you install it. Never seen an instruction that had you grease the plate first, but that's the way they're showing it here. And then we've got our pinion gear that we'll install after we've installed the motor, and where to use the ceramic grease on the pin. So there are the pieces that we need for this: the screws, the spacers, the grub screw, and the kit comes with an 18-tooth pinion, and you can see how it's got to be attached, making sure that you've got the teeth nicely in place. And we're going to be installing that 540 Sport Tune motor in this kit versus a brushless system. So I will set this up and we'll put this together. So the first thing we need to do is get the motor plate onto the motor. Now, as you can see, they're telling you to put some of that molybdenum grease onto the edges because on either side you've got metal, and we're going to be attaching it to the metal plate on the gearbox. So I'm just going to stick my finger in the middle here, and I'm just going to go around and put a bit of grease on this side. Just like that. And I'll turn that around. I'm gonna probably get this on me, so there we go. Let's put a little bit on there. Around the edges on that side. There we go. And we now need to put this on the motor, so we've got the two spots. We've got to match it up with the two holes and push that in place just like that. So we've got the holes aligned. Now I'm just going to put that down for a second and wipe my hands a bit. Okay, so now that we've got that far, we're going to need to attach it to the gearbox. So same idea. I'm going to leave, just because of this, I'm going to leave it up that way. So in terms of the placement, let's grab one of the screws, and you can see that we need to use one of the spacers. And I'll stick that in the top of that one there. And let's stick that on and place it there, I think. I just have to line that up and use our hex drive here. It's not quite lined up yet. There we go. So there's one in, and same again on the other side. Grab our screw, the spacer, and we now need to fit that into here. So we're going to turn the motor just so that I've got the placement correct. Now we're going to adjust this once we get the pinion gear attached. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, we need to at least get the motor on. So there we go, it's on. And if I was to loosen this up just a touch, you can see that the motor can slide into the position that we need once the pinion gear is on. But as a whole, there we go. There is our motor in place, our sport tune motor. We just now have to work on the pinion gear. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So, this is the pinion gear that came with the BBX. And they show you turning it around and fitting it onto the motor shaft. So, turn it around, fit it on. Wait a minute, we have a problem. Because if you see the shaft coming out of the motor, it's too small. So that grub screw has nothing to grab onto using a sport tune motor. So, what do? Well, I was doing a bunch of research trying to see who had done what, and a lot of people had said that that's why they didn't go for the brushed. They wanted a brushless motor because the brushless motors have a larger spin shaft coming off the motor, and this would all fit. Well, I decided I still wanted to stick with this because that's what I'd said I was going to use. So I found this. This is an aluminum pinion gear, 18 tooth, 48 pitch. Now the beauty of this is most Tamiya kits come with what they call as a mod 1. They have their own pitch. Well, on the BBX, and I'm going to guess it's because it's a more professional kit, this is a 48 pitch pinion. So this is an 18 tooth, 48 pitch pinion, which means that if you go to other pinions, this is one's from Team Associated, it's a 48 pitch. So at the hobby store, Matt, awesome guy from NRC Hobbies, knows a lot about the kits for sure. We took a look at this and this was a perfect match. And as you can see, and I'll take it out now because we are going to obviously install this, but I'm going to show you that if you look at the pinion gear that the BBX comes with and the pinion gear from Team Associated, look at the difference in terms of the sizing. So where that grub screw has to go is a lot closer, meaning that it will fit on the 540 motor. So this is designed for a brushless system with a large shaft coming out of the motor. This one is small enough that even the standard 540 motor shaft will work. So let's get this onto the motor. So here is our new pinion gear. But before I put the grub screw in, I want to show you something. So if we do this as the instructions say, you need to turn this around. I can stick that on there, and if I get it into place, notice that the grub screw is going to nicely sit on the shaft. So we don't have to worry about this anymore. So you can definitely put a standard 540 motor on a BBX as long as you change out the pinion gear for something that will fit a 540 motor versus a brushless motor. Or, I mean, there is a super stock. I think that one has a longer shaft too. But if in order to use a regular 540 or the sport tuned or the torque tuned, you'll need to change the pinion gear. So I stuck with the 18 tooth, but you're going to need to change it out. Okay, so with the camera in my way, I kind of needed more room. I needed to see what I was actually doing. So I've gone ahead and actually installed the pinion completely. And you'll notice that that is sitting nice. It rides well. And I've got the spacing just where I need it. If you can see that. There's numerous ways that you can do this. I know people have also done a paper test where you basically put a piece of paper in and then close it in on it. And then after you've tightened everything down, you can just spin the spur gear back and the piece of paper will come out. With this, I didn't quite do that because I wanted to actually see where the teeth were grabbing that spur. So I've actually eyeballed it which I've done with other kits, and I've found it's always worked for me. I just never try to make it go all the way into the bottom. You want a little bit of play with the spur inside there. You don't want it totally tight. So that's worked for me. So I'm happy with the positioning. Now, if you notice, the spur, in order for this to fit onto the shaft of the motor, this had to be in slightly, well, closer to the motor, because otherwise you still don't have enough of the motor shaft to tighten this down onto. So you'll notice, and it's not that it's out just a bit, depending on the angle. It's kind of hard to see because it actually it's not bad really. But you'll notice that it's not 100% on the spur. Now I asked around, I've asked some racers about this, and in actual fact, they have said that as long as the pinion gear is covering most of the spur, you'll be fine. And they've raced their kits that way depending on what motor and what pinion combination they've used. So my pinion is not off of this that much. Like, it's really, I would say 95% of the spur is getting covered by the pinion. There's only this little edge at the end that isn't. So this works, and with them recommending that, to my mind, we're good to go. So I'm happy with this. So there is an 18-tooth pinion attached to a regular 540 motor. Now I would say this as a last thing. This obviously is the pinion that came with the BBX. This is the pinion that I found through Team Associated. That's what the hobby store had. But I would say that if you find a pinion gear where the grub screw hole is even closer, you probably could attach this differently. Because I've seen some where the grub screw actually goes in closer, even has like a notched out area where the teeth are, so that it's even closer to the pinion. So you can really get something that might be an even better fit than what I've found. And I may still search for another pinion gear out of curiosity myself to see if there's one where the grub screw's closer to the teeth, meaning that you could actually have this whole pinion grabbing the entire spur gear. But we'll see. For now, I'm going to use what I've got here. It looks like it's going to work really, really well. So that means that step 6 is complete, and we're going to move right into step 7 and attach the gear case to the chassis.